And is calling on his children to come home and for a change, build the Africa that you want. The colonizers have been building the Africa that they want. The game is up. You see, you don't go to China and find black people driving the Chinese development agenda. Go to Africa and find non-Africans driving the African continental development agenda. No more shall we continue to be ignorant. Our eyes are open. We know our Africa. We are going to reconnect with our roots. African Americans, you must understand there is a void that is deep in each and everyone's subconscious. It is a void that affects everything you do. First, you must understand you have that void. In this country, with the exception of the American Indians, everybody is a foreigner. And everybody has their roots outside the United States. And the rest of the races are connected to their roots, with the exception of the African Americans. You're too busy running away from your roots. You're busy denying who you are. Well, guess what? It is what it is. You are an African. And Africa is home. And the sooner you wake up and realize and accept that Africa is home, the sooner you are going to fill that void. For as long as that voice is in you, you're always going to be like a ship without an anchor.
Okay, so no. We are not Africans. So-called African Americans, which are the Israelites, and we're not just in America, we're scattered abroad. But the point is, no, we are not Africans. And no, we are not running from our heritage. We're not running from our identity. Clearly, it was stripped from us. But no, we are not Africans. There is a difference. There's a major difference. There is many difference between the Israelite and the Hamite, which are the Africans, okay? Now, I'm not saying that there's not Israelites over there in Africa. Clearly, a lot of Israelites that still remain, but they call themselves Africans. But they're not Africans. They're Israelites. And they're Israelites because of who their forefathers was, where they descend from, okay? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? So, no, we are not Africans. We are not African Americans. We are not Afro-Americans. We are not Negroes. We are not niggas. We are not black people. We are not colored people with children of Israel. And I think it's so funny how all of a sudden people want to claim us. People want to claim us now that the children of Israel is waking up. Now we waking up. We finding out our identity. We finding out who we truly are. We're separating ourselves from being called bywords, which was given to us by our oppressor. And now people want to come out and claim us. No, you can't claim us. We're not Africans. We're not the same. We're different. We're different. The Most High, he put a difference between the Israelites and the Hamites. He put a major difference between us. And just to name off a few, like our whole makeup, the way we look, our structure, our bone structure, our the color. Most people think, yeah, well they brown, y'all brown, and well they dark black, and some of y'all dark black. No, it's a difference between. You can clearly see, like, if you got the spirit of discernment, you can literally look at an Israelite. And I know some people might disagree, and that's okay. But I can look at it. I can look at a Hamite, an Egyptian, real, by just looking at them, if they're an Israelite or a Hamite. But I'm not about to even argue that point. The point is, I'm finna prove with the scriptures how we're not the same. And we can literally start with the fact that y'all sold us into captivity. If we were the same, y'all would have went into captivity with the children of Israel, which y'all did not. Y'all sold us to the Grecians, who removed us far from our borders. So that's proof we not the same. Y'all the ones that sold us into slavery. Secondly, where at any time did so-called Africans or you Hamites discontinue from your heritage? When did y'all get cut off from y'all heritage, y'all custom, y'all lineage, y'all native tongue, y'all culture, your food dishes, your forefathers, your foremothers? Y'all know exactly where y'all come from. You know who your forefathers is. You know who your foremothers is. So that's another just solid, concrete proof. According to the scriptures, we're not the same. Y'all never once got discontinued from y'all heritage. Y'all like, I am from, this is my country. This is my country. I'm not from America. So y'all, y'all claim y'all country, and y'all stand on that, and that's cool. We gonna stand on, we Israelites, And that's just what it is. We're not Africans, okay?
They're your brothers.
They're not our brothers.
Sisters.
They're not our brothers.
They are.
If you were born in America and have lived there for 300 years, you're no longer African. Those are Americans. We don't need them.
We don't need
They
them.
were taken away, unfortunately, but they are Americans. We will develop by ourselves. Yeah, we have the capacity, we have the will, we have the resolve. We don't need them. No.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Put 1 cup of water, or do you put 2 cups of water?
What kind of sweet potatoes?
Sweet potatoes, candy yams.
Candy yams. How much sweet potatoes am I making?
A pot.
Feed how many?
cooking channel? Do you
Feed
put
how many people?
1 cup of water, 2 cups of water?
How many people are we feeding? It doesn't matter?
Nope. 1 cup of water, 2 cups of
Well,
water.
I'm born and raised African. I'm not African American, so I don't know y'all culture. But if I were to make it, oh shit.
2? Sweet potatoes, you don't put no water in it. I'm gonna have to pass. But wait, so you wanna steal?
So y'all both gonna walk away? You gonna walk? Okay.
Yeah. That's slave food. I don't do that, babe. I'm not a slave. I was never a slave. I don't know how slaves cook. I was never a slave, babe. I know where my grandfather came from, my great grandfather, and where all their ass came from. Your ass don't know. You.
The African role in the transatlantic slave trade must not be swept under the carpet. Must not be swept under the carpet.
The image we have today of the slave trade as mass kidnapped by Europeans, mass kidnapped by Europeans, mass kidnapped by Europeans, couldn't be further from the truth.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
For both sides, this was just business.
This was just business.
The Europeans themselves did not go inland to the villages or to the town to capture slaves. The Europeans themselves did not go inland to
capture slaves.
They remained at the forts and the castles. And it was the African traders who sold the slaves to the Europeans.
African traders who sold the slaves
to the Europeans.
Before the transatlantic slave trade was introduced.
They wanted slaves to ship across the Atlantic.
Before the transatlantic slave trade was introduced.
They found a ready supply in local prisoners of war.
When you went to war and you defeated the people, you took captives home. So you decided what to do with the captives. How many slaves do we need for farming? How many do we need for the army? How many do we need for domestic work? How many slaves do we need for farming? How many do we need for the army? How many do we need? The excess goes through the Atlantic slave trade.
Africans who were active collaborators in the trade.
Now, what happened was that there were middlemen who would meet the inland traders bringing the slaves. They would buy these slaves and then in turn resold them to the European merchants in the castles. The Europeans themselves
already knew that slavery was widely practiced in West Africa. In most African nations, it was an alternative to a prison system.
Those who committed crimes, convicts, could be sold into slavery. If you owed a debt, you could be sold into slavery. Sometimes through deceit, or you could be tricked into slavery,
Slaves were also acquired as captives of Africa's wars. Europeans had long been part of an established system for bartering them.
The first Europeans who came to Ghana were the Portuguese, and they arrived in 1471. And when they got here, they found that there was a brisk trade in slaves. And when they got here, they found that there was a brisk trade in slaves between Ghana and its West African neighbors. And for 100 years, Portugal remained on the coast of Ghana and took part in this coastal trade, and bringing slaves in exchange for gold. And this was a situation, before the transatlantic slave trade was introduced.
Slavery existed in societies that had no prison systems. It was part of the punitive measures against criminal conduct, criminal behavior. The slaves lost their liberty. They went away, maybe into the neighboring state or the neighboring nation, but only for a season. It was not a long-term loss of liberty. And the children of the slaves, of course, were never slaves in that context. The greed factor was there. Kingdoms made money. They rose as a result of the trade. Big, powerful people. Rich families were created as a result of the Africans who were active collaborators in the trade.
The image we have today of the slave trade as mass kidnap by Europeans couldn't be further from the truth. For both sides, this was just business.
The African role in the transatlantic slave trade must not be swept under the carpet.
So this is Joel 3 and 4 through 7. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? These are Africans. In all the coast of Palestine. This the Most High. He's saying, like, what y'all got to do with me? Okay, let's keep going. Well, ye render me a recompense, and if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head. So that's coming anyways. Verse 5, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah, the children of Jerusalem, have ye sold unto the Grecians. So that's plain. The Most High, like, you stole my silver and my gold. You have taken Judah and Jerusalem, and you have sold them unto the Grecians, which is these Europeans, these Edomites, okay? So we're not the same. Y'all sold us into slavery. We ain't gonna forget that. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and ye have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far, far from their borders. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and I will return recompense upon your own head. So that's just proof, you know, there's judgment coming for all the nations. Every hand that played a role in us being put into captivity, the Most High, he just spoke and said he has a recompense for you. So that's another major cut, how Israelites and Africans, Hamites are not the same. If you're an Israelite, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Africans that sold the Israelites into slavery, okay? There's a major difference. Our spirits are not the same. They do stuff we don't do. They drink blood, we don't. Like, that's an abomination for the children of Israel to drink blood, okay? They eat raw flesh, we don't. Our meat has to be cooked. There can't be blood in there. These are commandments from the Lord, from the Most High Yahweh. So the spirit is just different. And really, actually, the Hamite and the Edomite spirit is more closer and more relevant towards one another than the African and Israelite. just their spirits the same. They both like to drink blood. They both like raw meat. Like, the Israelites don't do that, okay? So that's just what it is. We are not the same. We are the children of Israel. Yes, we went into captivity. We were scattered abroad to the four corners of the earth. And we just have to remember these things. You know, this is not to sow discord, but this is to make things plain upon tables. Israelites and Africans are not the same. We are not the same. So no, I have to reject that. We're not running from anything. We're running towards the Most High Yahweh with a sincere heart, with a humble spirit, with a meek spirit, in humility, repenting of our sins, and to keep his law, statutes, and commandments. We're not running after Africans. We're not claiming to want to be Africans. We're not claiming to want to be this or that. We are the children of Israel, and that's just what it is. And with that being said, we have to return back to the Most High and keep his law, statutes, and commandments. Shalom.